Hey Senpai, it's your Kohai, and today we're going to take a look at a figure that I've been waiting for a very long time. It is the 1/7 Shibuya Scramble crystal dress rim figure that was manufactured by Alpha Satellite and has an MSRP of 33,770 yen. So there's been a lot of controversy about this company, okay, because their prices are kind of ridiculous. I mean, $300 for a figure, that's a lot of money. But you know, I mean, Ultra be over here trying to charge like $400 for their 1/7, but at least they have kind of the clout to do that. So, you know, I mean, we could go back and forth between whether we should support this company or not. But you know what I say? I say, do what makes you happy. And you know what makes me happy? Having no impulse control and spending way too much money on figures. To start off this review, I want to read the description that Ami has because I think that it's either hilarious or it kind of gives us a little bit of insight into what the designer wanted to convey. So, without further ado, this figure of Rim has her in a beautiful voluminous dress and a lovely expression on her face. Rim reaches out a hand to the viewer and the transparency of her skirt seems to rival that of her smile. Rim and the dress seem to float in the air for a dynamic figure made with careful attention, even seen in the molding of the fine details of the showy ice. Now, let's take a look at this box. This is a big boy. Now, just take a second to look at this box. It is so plain. It's literally just a white box with some writing on it. The only saving grace about this box is that it has the really nice cardboard that when you open it, it's not going to make those little tears in the corner that make you want to cry. Now, let's go ahead and open this box. So, here's a look at the first layer of packaging. Now, I didn't see any instructions in this box, so I guess we gonna figure it out. This is what it looks like after you remove the first layer of packaging. Now, I frequent my figure collection like every day, and almost like 50% of these have come broken, but I did a brief examination and it looks like I've gotten lucky this time. So we're just gonna continue unpacking it and hopefully we won't find any damages. Initial impressions, this figure is wow. It's beautiful, guys. You don't really understand how big it is until you see it in person. Now, this definitely takes up a whole one of these by itself. Assembly-wise, you could probably tell I had a little bit of trouble because I don't know where my instructions are. So I had a little bit of issue finding out where these plastic pieces went. But other than that, you don't really have to assemble anything, which is kind of ballsy, honestly. That's probably why most of them came broken, is she's literally attached to the stand. So far, I don't see any damages, so I really hope that once we get a closer look, we won't see anything else. Now, let's take a closer look. Starting with the paint job, it's pretty dang impressive. There's a lot of nice detailing on her hairpin, the ribbons on the front of her dress, and the silver lines on her shoes. All of those are done really cleanly and really nicely. The skin tone, it looks really good and it feels really good. The hair is probably actually the most impressive part. It has a lot of shading here on the back, and you don't usually see that in a lot of figures. Normally the hair looks really flat, so I'm really happy to see that. I really like this pearlescent paint that they use to do the second layer of her skirt. I think that looks really pretty. And the gradient that they use to paint the sleeves of her dress are also really nice. Now, where the paint could use a little bit of help is on this embroidery on her skirt. These lines are not very clean. Thankfully, they're not really noticeable from far away. It's only if you look close up. Also, there is kind of a white smudge on the line on her skirt, and some of the blue paint on her stockings could use a little bit more cleaner lines. The molding on Rim herself is really impressive. I literally cannot even tell where they have assembled her at all. There are no seams on Rim except for in the back on her hair. You can tell where they have added hair pieces back in instead of making it one solid piece, which is really annoying because the hair actually looks really good. But overall, there's some really nice detailing in her headdress, in the ribbon around her neck. It looks like it's floating. The flowers on her dress and on her shoes, those are really cute. Also, all the frills that they put into her dress, I mean, they really added a lot of life into this figure. It looks so dynamic and really gorgeous. The only problem that I really have with the molding is on the back over here with the base. You can see all these seams over here in the crystals, and you can see where everything kind of meets at the bottom due to this translucent material that they use for the base. But overall, the base is a feat in itself. I mean, it is a showpiece. The figure would not be what it is without this base. It does look a little more plasticky in person than I would like it to. In the rendering photos, it is a lot more glass-like, and it actually has a deeper blue color. And I think that if it would have had that color, then a lot of the seams would have been hidden. This figure is not based on an artwork, but I personally think that her conversion from 2D to 3D is spot on. I mean, this figure is freaking adorable. They definitely capture her personality. There is no doubt in my mind that this is Rim. She's reaching out towards the audience. She has this big smile on her face. Her face looks exactly like the prototype photos, which is really impressive because normally the company can mess that up during production. But it actually turned out really well. There's not very much blush on it, but honestly, I don't even really think that it needs it. I'm glad that the face turned out so well because I really feel like the face really makes the figure. She's also sporting her white panties, which are very cute and moe. But, you know, overall, I really love this figure, and I'm really glad that I have it in my collection. So with that, let's give it a score. Starting with the box, it was made out of the very nice cardboard, but ultimately it was very plain and white and only had text, and there was no window that you could see the figure through, so it gets a 1 out of 5. Overall, the paint job on the figure was done very well. The hair had a lot of shading, and most of the lines were painted very cleanly. Where the paint could have used a little bit of help was on the embroidery on the skirt. The lines could have been more defined, and I really wish that they would have used a darker blue on the base like the prototypes had. So it gets an 8 out of 10. For Rim, they did a really nice job of hiding the seams. You really can't tell where they put her together. There's also a lot of nice detailing on her dress and her hairpiece. However, on the base, you can see a lot of seams and you can see where they meet the bottom. Therefore, it gets an 8 out of 10. This base really is a showpiece. I mean, it is elaborate, dynamic. It really makes the figure. However, it does look a little bit more plasticky in person than I would like it to, and I am a bit concerned over how these transparent pieces will hold up over time. Therefore, the base gets a 9 out of 10. Under artistry for the conversion from 2D to 3D, I mean, they really did it. This is Rim in 3D form. They really captured her essence, so she gets a 10 out of 10. The pose is really dynamic, it's exciting, there's lots of energy, and it really brings life into the figure, so it gets a 10 out of 10. They really captured her personality and essence, and it really feels like her in this moment, so it gets a 10 out of 10. Rim's face is done perfectly, and it's one of the best I've ever seen, so it gets a 10 out of 10. This figure makes me smile, it's very moe, it's super adorable, all the way down to her white panties. It gets a 10 out of 10. So moving on to value. Objectively, this figure weighs in at 1,448 grams, and the MSRP is 33,770 yen. So its price per gram is 23.32 yen per gram, which gives it a 4 out of 5. Subjectively, I do think that 33,000 yen is a high price point for this figure, especially coming from a new company where many received theirs broken. I would have felt more comfortable at a 30,000 yen price point. However, if you did receive one that was in perfect condition, it will certainly appreciate in value. Therefore, I'll give it a 4 out of 5. For this figure's playability and displayability, I mean, it is a showpiece. However, there aren't really any other accessories to change the pose or anything about it, so you really gotta like the figure the way it is. It also takes up a lot of space, and you really can't display it with anything else. Therefore, I give this a 3 out of 5. This brings the total of the rim crystal dress to an 87 out of 100. Well, that concludes the review of the rim crystal dress. I'm so excited to have this figure in my collection. I'm so glad I can unbox it for you guys today. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe. You can find all of our social media in the description below, as well as a means of supporting the channel. Well, until next time, Senpai, bye!